Good morning. It's been a while since the last video and I've got loads to update you. So let's get into this. I'm going to talk fast. I also haven't had any breakfast. So the plan obviously still next year is for me to access my pension when I turn 55 in March, sell the house, release the equity, hopefully 100k equity, stick it all in the bank and then decide what the hell we're going to do. The ultimate goal is for me to stop working and my wife. She now has a job just to get us through the next few months. The story with regards to my wife getting a job is I do deliveries at the moment on an e-bike. The market has just been flooded with other drivers. Most of them illegal. The government are trying to do a crackdown on it, but it's just not really working. And what's happening is my income is just dropping. My wife getting a part-time job has now kind of doubled our income, which just means we can cover all of our bills now until next year when I can access my pension pot. And then we can stop work, take a breather, and see what we're going to do. Now, I recently did a couple of polls, as you probably saw. Thank you very much for answering those polls. Really helped to understand some of you viewers are at. Now, most of you have much more pension pot than I do. Well, I say much more than 150k. Somebody suggested that I do increments on the next poll, which I probably will do actually, just to find out where people are at. Some might have millions. Some might have literally just 150,000 or more. I'd say about 60% of you have more than me. Most of you have plans for your retirement, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I know that I'm going to be living very frugally. I'm not going to be living on 25 grand a year like some of you, and that's just the way it's going to work. Now, I'm used to living frugally, and I know that we can do it, but I want to try and turn some of this money around, whether it's from the pension or whether it's from the house sale, into some kind of income and just build up on that income. So some kind of investment, whether it's investment in a business, I don't mind working, but it needs to be something that I enjoy. And I'm fed up doing what I'm doing, and I don't really want to apply for a job on minimum wage because that's what they all are around here at the moment. And having your own business, I've had my own business in the past and you can earn a hell of a lot more. It's just I need the breathing space to kind of get all this set up. The ultimate goal we were thinking originally was to live on a boat in the UK. Now, mooring fees were about anything from sort of 2,500 to 3,500 a year for the kind of size of boat that we wanted to live on. Plus there's boat maintenance, there's other costs involved, there's possible river management fees and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be a more costly option than what we are planning to do for at least the first maybe few months, is to live in a caravan. Then we're vacillating between all of these ideas. Nothing's absolutely in concrete yet. There's no deadline. I know somebody said, oh, you haven't set a deadline, but there is a deadline because it's in March. It's like, no, there's no deadline in March. The main deadline will be that we have to pay the mortgage off by about 7 years' time. That's when it comes to the crunch, and we're not going to have enough money to clear the mortgage in the meantime without selling the house. So we've got to sell the house within the next 7 years. That's the ultimate deadline, if there is one, if you like. But even then, we could probably extend the mortgage. I know that mortgage companies are doing that. But we don't want to go down that route. We want to sell the property, release any equity we can, if we can sell the property. And I know that the market is completely dead, as some people have said, but there are properties selling. There's properties selling in my area for similar to what we want to get for it. In fact, a lot more than what we plan to get for the house. So I think we will sell it. It's just a case of how low do we go. So, worst case next year, I draw on my pension, get some money in the bank or put it into an ISA or something like that. And it supplements us while we carry on working, while we decide what we're going to do, carry on paying the mortgage and everything else. But that's kind of a big no for me. Ideally, we just want to stop working, sell get the house sold. We'll have to still work while we're selling the house. It might take a year or two to sell the house, in which case all our plans will change. But we'll have some money in the background, which we need to protect as best as possible. Now, last video I did a budget of us living in the caravan. Thank you very much for your useful comments. Very helpful. A couple of things I've missed, things like tax and MOT on the tow vehicle and all that sort of stuff. We are looking at possibly getting something smaller, but ideally, the reason I wanted a truck or a pickup was because when we do go to France, and I know you've got to register your vehicle when you're resident in France, but you've got up to a year to do it. Same with all the driving license and everything else. If your driving license is all up to date, you don't have to change it over. So there's a few things that people have said that we have to do that we don't actually have to do imminently. But if I get a truck, then if I'm going to be buying a property in France where we're living, we're going to be doing some DIY Nothing major construction wise. But I've seen people do it. I've seen other YouTubers, other creators do exactly that sort of thing. They buy a really cheap property and they do it up themselves over a period of years. I'm not worried about it being all beautifully done out. That's just not the way we're used to living, really. Yeah, so we want to do some DIY. So having a pickup truck to just chuck a load of stuff in the back from the DIY store, like wood and any tools and things like that. I've got a lot of tools at home here. So they would probably go into storage and then they would eventually come down with us, as long as it's not in storage for too long, because then it would negate, with the cost, the outlay would negate the price of the tools. We might as well just buy them again. But I don't really want to have to do that. So, having a pickup would mean that we can, to and fro from the DIY store. We can have lawnmowers in the back and things like that. Rubbish going to and from the waste disposal. Clear, because there'll be gardens to clear out and things like that, because we do want a property with some land. Then we suddenly thought, oh, this is all too much. Then we're going to start looking at a boat again. And I started talking to people down at the boat club and everything else. But I think we are set on France, really. There's people that we know that have moved to France, and people I see online that have moved to France don't even know the language and have no ambition to learn the language, and they just stay away from French people. That's not us, not what we're going to be doing at all. Our plan, if we get there, if we do pull this off, is to have a property there reasonably near to a small town or village where we can absolutely integrate with everybody else. We both speak the language, we can get by, so we'll more than have a go, and that's what they like down there. They respect that. So anyway, an update. I was looking on a particular immobilier, a French estate agent, yesterday. They've just put on a service where if you buy a property in France, they can, and you want to rent it out, like through Airbnb or through holiday lets, which can be quite lucrative. And there's a lot of people that do this. The French aren't particularly enamoured of people that do that. But again, the plan is if we get down there and we move in, we're going to be integrating anyway, so that won't be a problem. But what we're thinking now is release the equity from the house, take my 25%, get a tow vehicle, go and live in the caravan, straight down to France, spend a month, 2 months down in France as a big holiday, but also buy a property down there using the equity from the house, which will then get managed by this particular estate agent or another one, get completely managed. I mean, it will cost us a couple €100 a month to manage it, but we should be netting a lot more than that as an income. So that's it, income sorted. Then we can come back to the UK because we'd be sort of outstaying our 90 days, and then we can either remotely buy a house, which people do all the time. Yes, might be risky, but we're happy to do it. If not, we'll wait 3 months and then we'll go back down again and buy another property. But then buy another property for 20 to 30,000 with a little bit of land, or at least some sort of sizable garden that we can manage. If we have more land, we might be able to run it as a small campsite or something like that later down the road, generating income again. It's all about generating income now. Is what our plan is. So the first things first is to get investment done, get that income coming in, get that all tidied up, sorted out. Then we've got an address in France. Then we can start applying for our visa. We can start the process of actually moving out there once we've got the other property to move into. If it needs doing up, hopefully it'll be habitable reasonably, so we can literally camp in it while we're doing all the work. Or worst case, we can pull the caravan onto the land and live in that if we have to, while we're decorating and doing everything else. And that is legit. You can do that, only for a certain period of time though. So that's the plan. A lot of other great suggestions about. By the way, back to my plan for the caravan budget, with all the additions that people have come up with that we've missed off. That's well within that budget. I overestimated. Somebody suggested getting a smaller vehicle that doesn't cost as much on tyres, and said, £400 a year on tyres is a bit of an overestimate. Absolutely. I've overestimated on pretty much everything, and inflation and gains and everything else. But some other people suggested some savings accounts are paying 4%, some bonds are paying 4%. What I can't do is draw all of my pension out, and then, because I'll pay tax on it, and then put it into a savings account. Can't do that. But what I might be able to do is within the SIP, which will be in a drawdown SIP, I might be able to move it across into sort of tranches of bonds that are locked in for a year, guaranteed payout of say 4 or 5% or whatever. So I'm going to be looking into that because I don't need it all in one go. That way I'll get a guaranteed return on it, so that I'm not losing out too much to inflation. So the next step will be to do a budget for living in France, comparing maybe prices and that sort of thing. We do plan to go to France this year before my passport runs out, because I need to apply for a new one because that runs out next May, and you need to have 6 months on the passport to go away, which I do at the moment. My wife's passport's all up to date, and she's got 10 years on that. So so we're going to go to France and visit anyway for a short period of time, just a few days, just to go and have a little scout around the areas that we want to possibly move to, which is likely going to be southwest or midwest. So it's not too far from the UK, because we still have family in the UK that we'd like to come back and visit from time to time. And again, somebody mentioned about costs coming back on the ferry and all that sort of thing. We'll have to factor all that in, obviously. So we'll do a budget for that as well. But ideally, if we've got an income set up first, then we won't have to worry about drawing down too much on the pension, because if we can clear, I don't know, £1,000 net after all the costs and everything else, average over the year from property rental, which looks fairly feasible, pretty feasible actually, then that will give us a total of £1,400 a month, guaranteed coming in, or not guaranteed, but mostly income coming in. That will mean that we won't have to draw too much on my pension. So that's that. The last week, I think I told you on the last update, I sold the boat, tidied up some other finances. I also put £1,000 into the US Fidelity Index, or the Fidelity US Index with HL. That has netted me at the moment £5.88 in a week. It did go up to about £12 or £15 gain, and it's fluctuated, but it's in the blue, not the red, or in the black, not the red. So that's good, and I've got quite a bit of money invested in that particular index, which is gaining very, very well so far. The only one of all of my investments was the one that was recommended to me by a viewer, the City Index Fund, which has stayed in negative ever since I bought it, but it does pay dividends, so we'll see how that pans out every quarter. So that's pretty much it. And again, this is all changeable. We are still, there's no real rush, and there's not, people are saying, why didn't you sell the house before next year? Why don't you sell the house now? Love to. However, we've got a daughter that lives with us. She needs to get herself into rented accommodation, which she is planning to do, but not till early next year. And there'll be money that we need to sell the house, and we'll need to live somewhere once we've sold it. So I'll need access to funds before then. So that's why we were going to wait until I get my money in March or April. So that's when we'll be looking at selling the house. We might get it on the market just before then, especially if things are slow. But we'll see. We'll have to chat with the estate agent nearer the time. The other update as well is on my pension transfer from my old bank pension, which was the defined contributions with a defined benefit underpin, which is not worth as much as paying a financial advisor for. And I've argued with them over the last several years, and it's absolutely not worth me keeping those benefits, and I want it all within my HL SIP. So the transfer looks like it's going through. I've got one more document that I have to send back to the old place, just confirming the details, and then it looks like they should transfer it. Now, it might take a few weeks, so hopefully I'll have an update for you in a few weeks on that. But it looks like it is actually going through, which is going to be brilliant, because it means I've got access to so much more to invest with and play around with, and it'll all be in one area that I can see what's going on. Whereas the other one is a right rigmarole to log into their website, and it's a right rigmarole to get hold of them and everything else. And the last thing I want is, when I decide to retire or take my pension, that I can't get hold of these people, and then there's all this mucking around. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to update. Thanks to everybody who's commented, and thank you so much for at Defeffel blog for your £5 super thanks. Really appreciate that, and thanks for your message too, and hopefully you got my message back. So very much appreciated. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.